Welcome back. I'm Edie Hill for Brooke Baldwin. Joining us now from Cincinnati, Ohio, United States Senator Rob Portman, Ohio Republican. And as you are well aware, Senator, the jobless rate just ticked up to 9.2%. But here's something we were wondering about. We're going to take a look at this graphic. It shows that job gains began last October. There's pretty good job growth February, March, April. And then the last 2 months, it just dropped away. What's the explanation, do you think, for that?
Well, the president today, Edie, talked about uncertainty. And I agree with him on that. He focused on the uncertainty as to what's happening with the debt limit. There may be some of that, but there's also a lot of other uncertainty out there. There's uncertainty about the overall record deficit and debt, what's that going to mean in terms of higher taxes, or the country perhaps going into another recession due to a financial crisis. There's a lot of uncertainty, as you know, about energy prices. All economists say that's had a negative impact in the last 2 months. And no national energy plan to enable us to get away from our dangerous dependency on foreign oil. Higher regulations, the prospect of higher taxes, higher health care costs. So there are a number of things going on right now in the economy that create unpredictability and uncertainty that have led to less private investment and fewer jobs.
You know, I spoke last hour to Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, and he said that what is needed, and you talked about the energy costs, he said we need to spend more money right now. We need to spend money on infrastructure, on fixing roads, railways, dams, and we need to spend money on alternative energy sources. So is spending money going to help us create more jobs, government spending?
Well, I think we've learned in the last couple of years that we cannot spend our way to prosperity. It didn't work. We tried that. And by the way, infrastructure projects are good. We need to do them. It takes a while, as you know, because we don't have, as the president has acknowledged, the shovel-ready projects. So we need to try something else. By spending more and taking us even further into debt, again, with historic deficits this year and a debt approaching $14.5 trillion, that will make the situation worse, not better. There are a number of pro-growth things that we can and should do. The president talked today about passing these export opening agreements, the so-called trade agreements with Korea and Colombia and Panama. Of course we should pass those. That's about 250,000 jobs as soon as we pass them. We should also move forward quickly with tax reform. That's something that I think economists across the board would agree is needed to spur economic growth because our current code doesn't make any sense. It hurts jobs and it hurts growth.
What kind of tax reform? Because, excuse me, Senator Sanders also said that he thinks that the wealthiest 1% need to pay more taxes. So when you talk about tax reform, what do you mean?
Well, what we need to do is actually have a lower rate, but get rid of a lot of the deductions and credits, exclusions, the preferences. The president calls them loopholes. Others call them tax expenditures, kind of spending in the code. It's about $1 trillion a year, and be able to lower the rate to make us more competitive. Right now, we have a problem both with the individual income tax system, which is way too complicated. Again, it doesn't encourage investment in jobs, but also our corporate rate, which is now higher than any other countries among our developed country trading partners. So,
however, let me stop you there. The corporate rate, because I understand, you know, we've got a lot of loopholes. So when you're talking about closing loopholes and perhaps then bringing down the corporate rate, those would go hand in hand, right?
Yes. So in essence, what you do is you simplify the code, as happened in 1986, get rid of a lot of the underbrush that's in the code, and be able to lower the rates, which will encourage economic growth. These are common sense things that I think we should be able to find some common ground on, even in the context of the debt ceiling, by the way, because the discussions are not just about reducing spending, which is very important, but it's also about how to generate more economic growth through tax reform. Hope that stays on the table, and I hope that we'll see over the next few days even the president make a commitment to that.
You know, we are heading into the presidential election, and I was intrigued by a comment made by President Obama's campaign manager, and he said, referring to this unemployment number, he said the average American does not view the economy through the prism of GDP, gross domestic product, or unemployment rates, or even monthly job numbers. Their decision will be based on two things: how do I feel about things right now, and ultimately, do I think who has the best vision for the country? Do you think that people will go into the voting booth and not really care that much about the GDP and the unemployment number?
I think they'll care a lot about how they feel about the economy. And it has to do with, again, this uncertainty we talked about earlier. The folks I talked to here in Ohio, I just landed from D.C., I'm back home, and I'll be talking to people this weekend. I'll be at a NASCAR race and talking to folks about it. And they're concerned about their jobs. When they see these unemployment numbers go up, even if they're not directly affected, one of their friends is, one of their family members is. So it clearly affects the way they think. And what people are looking for is some real hope that comes from sound policies that make sense in terms of increasing private investment, improving our free market economy. I mean, this is what's made this economy the envy of the world, and we're getting away from that. So I think we need to get back to some basics. And again, there should be consensus on some of these issues.
Okay.
Fewer regulations, tax reform, and energy policy that lets us use our own resources here to get away from our dependence on foreign oil. There are things that we can do.
Okay.
And of course, dealing with the debt and deficit issue and this debt limit issue takes away some of that uncertainty. So
Well,
I hope over the next even few days, we'll hear some of that from the president and the negotiators as they talk about these debt limit talks.
That's right. They're getting together on Sunday to talk more. Senator Rob Portman, thank you very much.